Before the PE teacher finishes saying, okay, we're going to get in groups of 4, the children start looking around, scanning for eye contact with classmates, hoping the right person will give them the look that says, yeah, let's be together. Establishing and maintaining friendships is a big deal during childhood, but friendships look quite different during different ages, and the way in which children interact follow a fairly predictable age-based sequence during early childhood. And these phases were articulated by an American sociologist named Milfred Parten in 1932. Before age 2, babies and toddlers tend to engage in solitary play, figuring stuff out on their own. They love interacting with familiar people by mimicking their facial expressions and playing various forms of peekaboo, but they tend to play and explore their environment alone. That is not to say that they are always playing. Sometimes children engage in unoccupied play, so whether they are being held or sitting down or standing up, they're focused on observing others who are near them. After age 2, children tend to engage in parallel play in proximity of other children. When they're around other kids, they may interact with them somewhat, but their play is not integrated. Each child tends to be more interested in what they are doing rather than what those around them are doing. So in a preschool or daycare setting, one kid may be driving a toy truck while another is putting a puzzle together nearby. But when children are a little older, they start to engage in associative play by doing similar things like building Legos, but their play doesn't involve a shared narrative. They may share blocks, but they don't build a shared story or work together to build a Lego castle, for example. But that is the sort of thing that happens during cooperative play, the last play stage. By 4 or 5 years old, children have developed the communication skills needed to share their play in tangible ways, building a castle together or taking on complementary roles while playing house. But during so-called cooperative play, the kids may actually disagree frequently on how to proceed with their Lego castle or their game of house. And when these differences arise, they either resolve them themselves, or especially if someone has missed nap time or snack time, they may bring their grievances to a nearby adult, calling upon them to mediate. When I was about 4 years old, my mom worked out some sort of arrangement with the mom of a classmate whose house was conveniently located near our preschool. And each time I was sentenced to an afternoon with this little girl, she insisted we play My Little Pony or house. And every time she suggested either option, I would refuse. And then she would tell on me. And that is one example of why by about age 5, boys and girls start to self-segregate by gender during times of free play. And needless to say, we don't keep in touch. The ways peers interact during the preschool and kindergarten years provide some important insight for adults who would like to create age-appropriate youth sport programs. A good general rule of thumb is this: it's best to meet the kids where they are developmentally, rather than force the issue. By nature, toddlers tend to play alone, rather than seek out opportunities to interact with other toddlers. So any attempt to develop motor skills should focus on interactions between toddlers and a grown-up, preferably mom or dad or a familiar adult, rather than trying to force interactions between two 2-year-olds. If you try to do that, you'll probably hear the word no in stereo. But parents of 2-year-olds can design little games that involve interactions between them and their child, who would probably really enjoy these experiences, at least in short bursts. After children turn 3, and given that 3-year-olds like to be around other 3-year-olds, short-duration, organized activities can be a good thing for everyone involved, so long as there are enough adults to interact with the kids. Because 3-year-olds aren't quite ready to interact with one another exclusively. If you don't believe me, try and get 2 3-year-olds to play catch. But when children turn 4 or 5 years old, they become incredibly social, and they aren't really into small talk. So if they see another 4 or 5-year-old while they're eating lunch with their family at the zoo, there's no, "So, where are you from?" They just approach their new friend and say, "Do you want to play?" And after a half hour of playing on a nearby picnic table, they walk over together to ask their moms if they can set up a play date. 5-year-olds never seem to tire of playing with their peers, because at this age, forming friendships is the developmental task. So organized youth sport programs for 4 and 5-year-olds can be a little more interactive, so long as the games are age appropriate in terms of motor skills and eye tracking abilities of kindergartners. So if you take into account how little ones naturally play and create age-appropriate games for them, adult organized youth sport activities can be a great experience for kids. But like Jean Piaget said, children aren't just little adults. The way they think and the way they play changes as they develop more complex cognitive, emotional, and social skills. And when adults don't grasp this important truth, it can lead to some funny moments. Like the look on the face of a new tennis instructor who tried to start tennis camp by instructing a herd of 3-year-olds to line up on the baseline.